So we are going to do a brief introductory video kind of explaining and running through the We Make Our Own Choices exhibit. It's going to be a short run on staff picks from our collection, and we're going to just kind of show you around and let you see a little bit of behind the scenes of how we put this together and what the goals are for it. So here we are in the first room, which is obviously pretty empty. There is room for cases in here. Normally in this temporary exhibit space of 5 rooms, there are some smaller cases, some bigger picture, what the narrative of the exhibit is, kind of stuff going on. This is a short run temporary exhibit called We Make Our Own Choices. This is going to be just primarily staff favorites. As far as the connection goes, the staff are instructed just to go on to our e-museum website, our collections database, and choose things that interested them. We don't put that here. We don't talk about how it interests the staff, but we do get a name. We get selected by in the case, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. So I'm just going to take you through real quick a run through and hopefully open a dialogue to further some questions about what they've done here with this exhibit. This was a first time kind of an out of the gate experience for our collections and exhibit staffs as far as doing the selection of picks from our collection, the deep collection, chosen primarily by our staff. Okay, so for this part, I'm going to take a look around the room. First of all, this is the second room in the series of 5. These cases here are a dark wood that was constructed for the Cabinet of Curiosities, the late 1800s, early 20th century cabinets, to kind of mimic the style of that early University of Arkansas museum. And so that's why they give this really dark look. It's kind of an older style. They've reused, and you have to forgive me because I'm going to pick up and float around for a second. They've reused some of the flat stock cases that would have been used to house some geology, some different large flat stock stuff. And here we see an 1840s map, 1749 French map of Arkansas, chosen by Leah. And Jim Hickey, another one of our tour guides, chose this 1841 Arkansas map, steamboat routes. This is one of the older cases, and it features some of the unique art pottery stuff that comes out of Arkansas. A couple things to point out quickly. This one's selected by curatorial staff. This is the Nilo missionware swirl. One of my favorites when studying art pottery, so I've got to show it. It's beautiful stuff. I'll get a close up here in a second. But these cases, there's some flat stock down here, cam art pottery, some of the cut glass things that come really deep into the collection. Down there's a Civil War kepi hat that we'll get a close up here in a second. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to... That missionware is really beautiful stuff. It's some of my favorites. There's hundreds of pieces of it. You find it all over. Really, it originates in Arkansas, just south here in Saline County, where I'm from. As a child, the first guys made this swirl type stuff in 1906 there. Made it up through the 1940s. It's pretty popular as far as this, the art pottery, the craftsman kind of movement. The colors you see are reminiscent of the Southwest United States, and that's why they termed it missionware. Okay, so I'm going to go in handheld for a little bit and give you this close-up. This is a Arkansas Confederate Infantry private cap from the Battle of Prairie Grove up in northwest Arkansas. And its provenance actually stands beside it in this letter written by the man who wore the hat. He got shot through his hat in the back there, those 2 bullet holes. That's an entrance and exit. And the man wasn't injured at all. Lived to tell about it, has witnesses to the story, that kind of thing. Very hard to believe, but this piece is chosen by our executive director because it is one of the more unique Civil War artifacts that we have, just because it has a complete story and a letter that goes along with it. A little more handheld stuff. I'm going to speed through it, but there's the case on the other side of the wall. Some kind of unique items from the World's Fairs. We had a World's Fair exhibit up years ago, and so they were able to really expand on that collection. One of the neatest ones, though, 2 or 3 people who knew of it requested this one come out. That's a walnut shell. I'm sorry, I got to get a focus on that. Here we go. A walnut shell from the World's Fair, and inside it are pictures and a book. I've taken my autofocus off so my sound will be better, so you have to forgive me. I'll have to catch up. This is a spur of the moment kind of problem. So that's a walnut shell, little tiny things. And here it is, a souvenir nutshell, 1904. It's just strange. And the stranger part is that there were actually two people who chose that one as selection for this exhibit. Over here, some really interesting things. Again, forgive me for being handheld, but it gives me moving around the room a little bit faster. That is a beautiful piece there. And so what you got there is an 1865 inkwell with quill, brass and enamel inkwell. Really some lovely stuff there. If we go out, we'll see that my camera work is horrible, but that's fine. I'm usually not the one doing the talking and the camera work. It's either one or the other. Okay? All right, so here we go in the third room. You can see it's pretty open. They do have some larger things behind stanchions. Lovely piece of art furniture. This is going to be E. Fay Jones. Fay Jones was a student of Frank Lloyd Wright, and he's most famous for his large architectural work like the Thorn Crown Chapel in Northwest Arkansas. That is worth the look. If you've never seen that, go ahead and do a Google search for Thorn Crown Chapel. Amazing structure in the woods. A lot of people get married there. It's really beautiful. It's worth taking a look at. Give you a little chance to look around Arkansas, see some of the neat things that are there. I'm going to go ahead and pan back out over here. Some architectural designs by a couple of our noted. We have 1000 Charles Thompson, which is a guy, a very famous architect from Arkansas. I'm going to cut off here and move to the next room. I lied, I'm not in the next room yet. This is the some Civil War surgeon's kit. Over there on the right, you'll have a 1840s surveyor's compass. So what this is to show is the randomness of the artifacts. I'm going to go over here and look at this architecture thing because it's a real neat tea kettle. It's got a little oil lamp below it there, and that belonged to one of the judges that actually worked in the Supreme Court, which is funny. This room we're in is attached to the Supreme Court of the Capitol when this building was being used as the Capitol. Okay, so in order to keep from being way too motion sickness causing, I'm not really carrying the camera around as a walkthrough. I'm going to set it down and just kind of give you a look at what stuff is. These are the more traditional cases that we use here at the Old State House, and for some reason my volume keeps going way up. I apologize. I'm wearing a lav mic, so to cut down, the first time I shot this video, the echo was way too bad. So I'm going to walk over in frame and show you a couple things. So here at the Old State House, we have obviously, we're meant, part of our mission statement is to protect the history and the things that belong in the history of the state of Arkansas. Some unique collections that came from an older museum down the street that were getting rid of some things that they didn't really feel met their new mission statement as a science museum. So we've got some 1880s Little Rock Fire Brigade shirt and helmet. Next to that, a couple things from our Department of Arkansas Corrections collection. This is, and I will zoom in on this in a second. I don't think I did give you the mission wear. A wax death mask. Early on, when they would electrocute people, they would make plaster cast and pour it full of wax and mount it. It's on a trophy board, you can probably see from here, and give it to the family or hang it in the family of the victim or hang it in the warden's office. It's grotesque. It's a horrible practice. It wasn't done very long, but early in the 20th century it was. And so we do have 2 or 3 of those death masks in that Department of Arkansas Collections Correction. Above that is a Tucker telephone. One of our prisons of maximum security is called the Tucker Prison, Tucker Max. And down there, prior to 1967, they had a lot of what they call trustees, where the prisoners would actually guard the other prisoners with guns, and they had a lot of torturing going on. This thing was used, it's a big DC generator. You turn it and it produces an amazing amount of electricity. And it would hook that to the testicles and the big toe of one of the prisoners and torture him for whatever reason you torture people. Again, another grotesque and a horrible story. but it's something that people, especially the older folks, have heard about because it was in the news in the late 1960s. Again, I'm going to get you a little closer to that. So there's the death mask. It's pretty grotesque. There's the Tucker telephone. We have a lot of law enforcement stuff. Downstairs in one of our permanent exhibits, we have the 13 original badges of the state rangers of Arkansas. Those are the guys that go on to become our state troopers. And we have 2 cars that belong to the old State House now, the 2 state troopers cars. Okay, so in the other part of this room, this is the 3rd room in the series of 5 rooms in this temporary gallery. You got one of my favorite musicians and favorite Arkansans, Louis Jordan. Louis Jordan was from Brinkley, Arkansas. For a brief period, I lived in Brinkley for about 5 years when I was coaching and teaching out there. I lived 2 blocks. My house I owned was 2 blocks from the house Louis Jordan was born and grew up in. It's now dilapidated and falling down. I think they had it raised. When I was there, it was empty, and I didn't think too much about it at the time. Since then, that was several years ago, I wish I would have taken more pictures of Louis Jordan's house. Louis Jordan, the father of the modern stage show in many aspects. 30s, 40s, you get this big band sound, 20, 30 people on stage, and that's what the swinging, the whole jazz, the early kind of pre-rock and roll, but that kind of idea. He does it for the first time with like 4 and 5 people. Like you would see in a modern, what we consider stage show. We do that with about 4 or 5 musicians. Travels with Chick Webb and, you know, a lot of the guys at that time. World War II, the guys, G.I. Jive, Beans and Cornbread, Open the Door, Richard, these are all Louis Jordan. Very entertaining guy. Did some movies. Occasionally I talk about Louis Jordan's really strange movies. That's a conversation for another time. I just want to show. The painting itself is in our collection. This painting originally with about 4 others. It's one of what we call Patterson Barnes collection. These guys are a duo that paint at the same time, and they do kind of real life caricatures. They do the artwork for the House of Blues restaurants and bars. They have the similar stuff because they have a lot of Patterson Barnes in their collection also. So it's the exact same people that make our Arkansan photos. We've got a collection of music related, and then we have a collection of movies related, where we take the folks like Mary Steenburgen and Joy Lauren Adams and Julie Adams from the Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was actually, she was from Arkansas. She starred in that back in the 1950s. I'm going to pan around here without cutting and let you see another case. I'll get a close-up on this. This lady here, if I get a little bit of zoom, here we go. Nope, sorry. We're going to break back out into that. So the case behind me here, this is, let me get a little more angle on it. There we go. It's hard to tell from that far back. I probably should bring you up. Here we go. All right, so now we got 2 problems. One is that if I take you down that to level, you're not going to be able to see me, which is okay. This lady was a representative of the state of Arkansas. She's called the Hat Lady. Her name is Willie Oates, and that is the ceremonial torch that she carried for the Olympics. Back years ago, she had this hat here, kind of a Spartan looking thing made for it, but it's got feathers and that makes it somewhat flammable. So the safety committee wouldn't let her wear it. She had to have a different hat on when she carried the torch. Just again, another example of the diversity in the items, the artifacts that you'll see in this exhibit of staff favorites. Doesn't really follow a narrative, just allows them to pick some unique and really some wonderful things from the collection that normally wouldn't fit into the narrative of an exhibit. A couple things we got going over here. In the back, I've got a chair and a desk that belonged to a pretty famous political cartoonist named George Fisher. Fisher was one of the first guys to really take on Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was 27 when he was elected to the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas. That's terribly young for modern politicians. And so when Fisher would depict Clinton on up into Clinton's White House days as the president, he would put him on a tricycle just because he's making fun of his young age. We'll take a look at that in a close-up here in a second. Behind me, this is a very new dress. It's got some artwork on it. It's a campaign dress. Belonged to Ann McMath. Her husband was governor around, she's campaigning in 1951. So that'd be in 1952, he gets elected. He's one of the guys that we talk about, the GI revolt. They come in and they start cleaning up Arkansas politics, and especially around the Hot Springs area, which is very much controlled by the mob out of Chicago up until this point right here. All right, so another one of my favorites. I know I went off on Louis Jordan and how much he really does a lot to further the cultural ideas of music with being the father of the modern stage show. But this lady, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, there's all kind of YouTube videos about her. You can find folks, amazing guitarists, like say Eric Clapton, when he talks about influences early on in his musical career, he named Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Many of those really early amazing blues and rock guitarists talk about Sister Rosetta. So for the common person to listen to her music, it just seems kind of easygoing. The production value of the time period, they're not running the guitar levels up high enough for everyone to hear it. So you really, when you listen to her music and you want to isolate her guitars, it takes several settings. You have to listen to it more than once. And then once you hear it, you can't unhear it. I hear it every time. So the best example I use is Jimi Hendrix. So Jimi Hendrix plays the rhythm, and at the same time he'll do the fill-in and the leads and the runs. And so he's essentially playing three styles of music, three instruments on one instrument, and that's something that's very technically hard to do. Sister Rosetta does it 30 years before Jimi Hendrix does it, and it's hidden in her recordings. She does a lot of gospel stuff. She's the first gospel recording artist to record for a major record label. She records, I think it's This Train, which is an amazing piece. You can find video of her doing it in London, England, in the rain at a train station later. But she records it for Decca Records and goes on to a lot of fame. She would play the Cotton Club with Cab Calloway, play all night on Saturday, and then go on in and play church the next morning. She played a sold-out Carnegie Hall, and that's always been the standard for when you've made it. You've played Carnegie Hall. So big fan of Sister Rosetta. And again, this is another example of one of the Patterson Barns. And that one's done for us in 2002 for one of our musical exhibits that we did. It's a good, successful run. I'm going to jump back behind the camera for a second and just kind of give you a span of the room. Over there, the blue suit, that's a Nudie Cohen suit that belonged to a man named Lefty Frizzell. He's one of these guys that's going to make an early version of the song, If You've Got the Money, Honey, I've Got the Time kind of stuff. Think Grand Ole Opry on television, think hee-haw kind of thing. Very sparkly suit, Nudie Cohen. That, in its time, in the 60s, that suit probably cost $2,000-$3,000. And that's how you know you made it. Even though it's not, like, it wouldn't be a challenge for you or I to go ahead and make that suit and hand sew those sequins on there like that. It's the name that's associated with it that makes it worth it so much. The black one here, that's a Johnny Cash suit that comes to us from 1976. He played a show for the U.S. Congress. I'm going to go ahead and jump back out there. I'll hopefully get a little close-up on that stuff in a second. You see the eagles up on the shoulder there? And that's the actual piece of clothing he wore. As well as in the background, you see some guitars belonging to him when he played for Congress in the bicentennial of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So this is the only one I can honestly say I know why it was chosen. All right, and so this is my case, and I've got a picture of the card, and I'll insert that in a still into your video here. People ask, are you a big fan of Black Oak, Arkansas? Big fan? No, I'm a fan. There's a song called "The Halls of Karma," which it starts off great. If you've never heard that, do me a favor, look that one up. I hope you have a list of things I've asked that you should look up. The Halls of Karma is great. Jim Dandy to the Rescue is on the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. They use it in a chase scene. That's probably their most notable. Most people have heard Jim Dandy to the Rescue. Jim Dandy being their guitar player. This is their bass, Pat Dirty Dougherty. And there's a couple of videos of music where he's playing this actual instrument in the 70s and early 80s. Why did I choose them? Because I knew we had purchased their stage instruments from the 70s, and they sat on a shelf in the collections facility, and I've seen them. I've taken them out of the cases. Good rapport with the collection staff, and they usually, if I request to go see something or show something, if I have a special guest in town, I will make an appointment to go over and say, hey, can we look at this stuff? And I've got a list of things I like to show people just because I know it's something that I have a genuine enthusiasm about. These guys were so big. They played with The Who. They traveled the world and played with The Who and the big arena rock. Aerosmith. We know Aerosmith. They're great. These guys Aerosmith opened for these guys. Okay? Think about that. On the Old State House website, YouTube channel, there's a guy named Butch Stone, and he talks about how he's the guy we actually got this stuff from. He talks about being their road manager and like how big Black Oak really was. So my goal was just to get this stuff out there, to get that guy who's walking through here, who's not really big on history museums, to get him to say, wow, look at that. You know, I mean, that's cool. That's to tell his kids, like, these guys were huge and they're from Arkansas, right? That's kind of what we do. Okay, this is the card that is in the back of the case you couldn't see on the video. So I'm going to go ahead and just spin you around here. Forgive the speed. We got another case. Yeah, you see that all right. If I go over here, you can. So in here, you got a pair of boots. That's Johnny Cash, really tall dude. And that's his boots, about 1980. Got a presentation plaque, 1980. The silver anniversary of the Martin model number 1. Also in this case, this case, by the way, the name on it is John Jarbo. John Jarbo is one of our tour guides, and he is a world-class musician. He picked the Floyd Kramer 8-track cassette. Now, I know you're old enough to remember 8-tracks, and that's a cool thing. Floyd Kramer, this one doesn't even have his most famous piece on it, but that's cool. Also, Johnny Cash, big gun collector, and has donated several of his very collectible pistols, including an 1840s dueling set, which is something that's not currently on display, but one of my favorites as far as researching the culture of duels in the South and in Arkansas. So we got another cool piece here. There we go. All right, so this is interesting. This is some from the other staff. Bathing suit, 1910 women's wool bathing suit, chosen by one of our living history, our ladies living history. They're big into costuming and stuff. Some things that just belong to children. We've got a lot of things across the cultural spectrum. All right, so this outfit that I've got beside me here is a nudie suit. It's Nudie Cohen is a designer who did a lot of the, Grand Ole Opry stuff. I'm going to give a better, try not to cut the top of my head off there. So Grand Ole Opry, Hee Haw, a lot of these shows come out of Nashville in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It was a big thing. Country music was really kind of a large spectrum, especially down here in the South. And so the suit itself is not that complicated. Hand sewn, rhinestones, these kind of things. But it's a name, the nudie suit. If you had a nudie suit, you had made it. I've got some stories that I've got having a chance to talk with, say, Marty Stewart about his first nudie suit, his first shirt and all this. Now's not the time for that because my video's already way too long. That's the interesting piece. We do have several nudie suits that belong to different folks. Lefty for Sale, there's a video of him out there. I've got it. It might be on one of the YouTubes. If you've got the money, honey, I've got the time. Got kind of a rockabilly feel to him. A couple more things, then we'll get out of here. All right, so I've still got audio on this, but my battery ran out in my camera, so I had to plug it in, and I'm at a weird angle, but it's not bad. The light's okay. This is an example of some very, very recent acquisitions. In the main hall, central hallway of the old State House, we have the portraits, the actual governors, state-sponsored portraits of the governors that would have worked in this building up till 1911 when they moved into the new state capitol. So the guy here is one of the only few that we don't have. There were two of governors that we don't have portraits of, and just recently, within the last 2 weeks, the surviving family of this man here, Elias Conway, actually donated his portrait, and so now we have almost a complete collection of governors' portraits that worked in this building, which was pretty cool. Terribly priceless. The bust, the marble bust over here, that's a really unique piece. Used to sit in the rotunda of the Kentucky State Capitol. It was made in 1860, and the artist, and this also is Elias Conway, the same man, was going to do a governor from every state or something like that. And in 1860, the start of the United States Civil War, which is officially termed the War Against the Rebellion in the Pentagon. That's what the United States government calls this war. All right, so that's a beautiful piece, very heavy. This was in a shipping case just last week right outside my office. So that's terribly, a very, very new, a very cool exhibit, but a very new acquisition. So I'm going to pick this up and pan out and give kind of a better feel of this exhibit. And so I'm going to go all the way back out here. All right. So here we are at the end of this exhibit. You kind of see the size of the room. So there's Mr. Cockerell again. This is the more classical style of exhibitry case that we'll use here because it features some of the cornice and the paterae and things that you see in a 1830s Greek revival structure as far as their architectural elements go. And that's kind of what they go for in more of our exhibits. Those black cases, the darker brown ones, you see them because that's to fit that older exhibit style. So hopefully I've just answered some questions, but if I have raised more questions, I'll be happy to address them as good as I can. And this video is going to be up for a small amount of time. I don't know, I may forget and leave it up anyway. Thank you very much.